after that, they concentrated on the Monmouth and us. And the Monmouth was soon in trouble and could make very little effective reply.
The Monmouth sank, and the whole crew was drowned. Craddock, too, was drowned with the crew of the Good Hope. A fellow admiral said of him,
"Poor Kit Craddock. He'd always wanted to die on the hunting field or in action."
News of the black defeat at Coronel staggered a British public reared on the legend of an unconquerable navy. U-boats, mines, the Emden, and now a British squadron smashed in a fair fight. The Admiralty, already under heavy criticism, reacted instantly and ferociously. The battle cruisers Invincible and Inflexible were ordered out to find von Spee and destroy him. There was to be no delay.
The Admiral Superintendent, Devonport, reports that the earliest possible date for completion of Invincible and Inflexible is midnight the 13th of November.
Admiralty to CMC Devonport. Ships are to sail Wednesday, the 11th of November. They are needed for war service and dockyard arrangements must conform. If necessary, dockyard men should be sent away in the ships to return as opportunity may offer. You are held responsible for the speedy dispatch of these ships in a thoroughly efficient condition.
On Wednesday, November the 11th, the two great ships under Admiral Sturdy steamed south towards the South Atlantic and the Falkland Islands. "45 Allied warships were now after von Spee's blood. He had no illusions.
We have at least contributed in a certain measure to the glory of our arms, although that cannot signify greatly against the enormous number of British ships."
Unknown to each other, von Spee and Sturdy were steaming towards the same place at the same time, the Falklands. Sturdy arrived first. He was coaling in the morning after his arrival when he received the signal, a 4-funneled and a 2-funneled man-of-war in sight. Ships he was scouring the ocean for were sailing into his arms. The British crews worked feverishly to prepare their ships for the chase. The Germans at first thought they had surprised a cruiser squadron. Then, suddenly, the Germans saw the tripod masts, battle cruisers. They meant certain death. The battle cruisers swept out of the harbor. For 3 hours, they chased von Spee, eating up his 15-mile lead. At 9 miles, Sturdy opened fire. The Scharnhorst and the Gneisenau fought back gallantly, but they had no hope.
We could feel 1 or 2 shots coming, and hitting us, we could hear the shots piercing in the funnels and the superstructure and the casings. But we were assured from time to time from the bridge that all was going well.
Sturdy's advantage was overwhelming, but British gunnery was uneven, and many shells that did land on target failed to pierce the German armor. It was 5 hours before Scharnhorst sank. Gneisenau soon followed her. The Kent finished off the light cruiser Nürnberg.
She was on fire, forward and aft, and some of them were jumping into the water on bits of wreckage so as to try and get to us, but the seas were icy cold. We all had the impression that those Germans were very, very plucky people. I actually saw one man pull out the flag that was aft, how he got hold of it, and I saw him as he was sinking under the water, still waving that flag as that ship went down, much to say, Deutschland still über alles.
Only one light cruiser escaped. Coronel was avenged at the expense of 3/4 of the battle cruiser's ammunition and some disturbing questions about the quality of British gunnery. A month later, on the other side of the globe, another battle raised more questions, this time about British signaling. A British battle cruiser force in the North Sea met a smaller German one near the Dogger Bank. Their heavy cruiser, Blücher, was badly hit and burning. She began to slow down. The British flagship, also damaged and her radio gone, flag signaled the other ships to continue chasing the fleeing Germans. But by a combination of mistakes, the whole force stopped pursuing and turned on the already doomed Blücher.
We annihilated her, brought her to rest, and she was in a very bad position. But the most extraordinary thing about it was that she was heeling over, and there must have been over 1,000 men clambering up the deck onto the side of the ship. And as she steadily rolled over again, so they was sliding down the side of the ship into the water.
The German battle cruisers escaped. Safe in harbor again after their brief foray, they returned to their old passive role. But recreation was not victory. The German fleet had little to show after 6 months of war, except confirmation of the Kaiser's fears. The British Grand Fleet was too strong for them. Morale was in danger. The Kaiser had to issue a special order to his fleet.
I urge you to maintain a spirit of cheerful fulfillment of duty, even when there has so far been no opportunity in the face of the enemy, or where, in all human probability, no such opportunity is likely to occur at all.
The German Navy had failed. But the British had not entirely succeeded. 6 months of war had revealed ominous weaknesses in British training. It was a fine training of character and seamanship in the long tradition of Drake and Nelson, but less adapted to the technology of modern naval war. At Dogger and Heligoland, there had been grave signaling errors. At the Falklands, Sturdy's guns took 5 hours to sink Von Spee, whereas at Coronel, Von Spee had destroyed Craddock in an hour. The main base at Scapa Flow was still weakly defended against U-boats. Thoughtful observers noted defects in British equipment and in tactics. The long lack of a naval staff was beginning to tell. Yet the balance sheet was decidedly in Britain's favor. The German Navy might still be powerful and intact, but her fleet was penned up in harbor. Her merchant ships had disappeared from the seas, and all her colonies had been seized. In the first months of the war, the Royal Navy had done its job. Only a few sensed the absence of the Nelson touch and of the tremendous superior might of Nelson's day.